Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and today we're going to be talking about our top 10 board games to bring to the families. So these are games that you're going to bring in order to share great experiences with family members, and you'll see why here in a second. Now this is a Patreon selected video, so if you'd like to vote on future top 10s like this, there's a link in the description to our Patreon page. You're welcome to give additional support there and become a member. Now that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the list, but first, an honorable mention, and this is for the board game Marvel Champions. Now, the reason this is on the honorable mentions is I think that this is a great game to bring with when you visit family, because not all the time is your family going to want to play games with you, and that's okay. Having a game that you can pick up and quickly play some solo with is great. Marvel Champions is my favorite solo game, so I think that this is a great pick to bring with you. You can either bring just a box of cards with some of decks that you've built beforehand, a couple of villains. You could bring your whole collection, have something you just dive into. There's a lot of flexibility here, but honorable mention is going to be for Marvel Champions. Amazing solo board game. And with that being said, let's jump to the list with number 10, Cascadia. So Cascadia is one that has just entered our library and one that I'm quite impressed with. Played this with some family already, really been enjoying it, and this is a very simple tile laying game. So all you're going to be doing in Cascadia is you're going to be drafting a set of tile and animal, and you're going to be putting them into your habitat in front of you. Each of these scoring cards is going to have some way that they interact, the different animals, so you're going to want to put them in specific patterns. And it's very straightforward, very simple, but very fun, and it's one that I'm enjoying a lot. Now, my favorite thing about this game are the two different factors when it comes to the animals and the tiles. I love that when you take a tile, it can have multiple animals on it, and you get a reward if you only take a single animal tile, but it does not have the flexibility of some of these other tiles, so I really like that system. And I also like how each of those tiles is going to score differently based on the animals that have been chosen. So I like the variance here, and I like that choice of flexibility versus additional bonus actions. It's pretty fantastic, and it's one that I'm enjoying playing, and I'm excited to see if it goes further up on this list. That's number 10, Cascadia. My number 9 is going to go to the game Coconuts, and Coconuts here is a game where you play as monkeys and you're flicking coconuts into cups. Very simple, very straightforward game, and my dog does not like this game. I don't think she likes the sound that the monkeys makes, but it's pretty hilarious in general when everybody's around the table and flicking these coconuts around. Play this a lot with my nephews and they love it. The monkeys themselves are fantastic and hilarious, and my favorite thing about this is I love how the game rewards cooperation from the players, as well as you can just do some crazy shots. So as you play, you're going to have all of these cups in front of you, and whenever you win a cup, it goes on a stack, and once you have all 6 stacked in front of you, you win the game. But that being said, you can always take a cup from any player, so once somebody starts winning, everybody kind of camaraderie full comes together and says, let's stop them, and everybody's flicking their coconuts at you. It makes for a great experience, and it's a great time. It works for what it is, and it's hilarious and quick fun. Great little game. Fantastic. That's Coconuts, my number 9. Now, my number 9 is going to go to the game Macro Micro Crime City, a crime-solving game where you play as detectives following a series of questions that are going to lead you to an ultimate answer and conclusion for a case. I love that the game itself is basically Where's Waldo. You're going to be using this little magnifying glass that comes with it, or just your bare eye, to find clues, and it's just a great time following and discovering what this picture has to offer and getting familiar with the game and the world itself. And now my favorite part about this game is how everything is so well laid out on the map. I love how it's clear, you're able to find what you need. And my other favorite thing is I love the questions. I love the way that this game feeds you information and you're getting it piece by piece as opposed to just kind of exploring and then answering all the questions at the end. This one you have a direct path on what you're doing and you're able to check those answers as you play. I really like how easy this game is for anybody to pick up and play and have a good time with, and how people can bring different perspectives and ideas to this game and notice other things. This is a game that really has a level playing field when it comes to this genre, and it's one that I'm enjoying a lot, and I can't wait for the new stuff. So that's Macro Micro Crime City, my number 8. My number 7 is going to go to the game Camel Up 2nd Edition, a absolutely fantastic uproaring time of camel racing. You play as these patrons of this camel race, and it's your job to make as much money as possible by betting on the odds of all these camels racing around the track. Now, the kooky thing about this game is whenever you play, the camels will actually stack on top of each other, and they'll be carrying each other as they move through this map. Everybody's action is very straightforward. You're going to either be betting on the legs, so when all the camels have moved, or on the whole race, and you're going to be putting these cards and trying to kind of predict based on the outcomes of the whole thing. And the universal rule is the earlier you bet, always the more money you're going to get, but you could be incorrect because you don't know as much information. And that's my favorite thing about this game, is that it rewards taking risky bets, and I think that's fantastic because so many crazy things can happen with not only the way the dice come out, but also the way that the pieces will carry each other. A person that's dead last has a chance of winning first, and I think that's just so cool how it all plays out and getting to see it unfold. So that's my number 7 Camel Up 2nd Edition. My number 6 is going to go to the game Sheriff of Nottingham. Now, Sheriff of Nottingham has you playing as a merchant, and it's your job to smuggle all these goods past the sheriff into the marketplace so you can sell them for profit. And the sheriff's job is to figure out who is telling the truth about the items in their market stall and who is lying. So in this one, you have this bag that actually is going to contain your goods, and you'll be giving them to the sheriff, and the sheriff is going to kind of hold them and weight them, and once they give that bag back to you, you're good to go. But if they open that little snap back button on the back, they have decided they're opening your bag. Oh, it's just such a cool premise. I think that this just works so well, and I love, my favorite part about this game actually is the way that the negotiation works and how you can really figure out what you're going to be doing with the other players and how you can kind of ask the sheriff to do what you want them to do. And I think this comes in the form of a lot of things, kind of like thinking outside of the box. You can trade pretty much anything in this game. You can trade your goods that you've already taken into the stall. You can trade goods that are in that bag. You can trade money. You could pay the sheriff to look at other people's bags. There are many, many ways that you can do this. Now, another caveat I'm going to put with this game is I think that the expansion for this is pretty dang essential. I really like the way that it incentivizes lying, and I think that's much needed in this game because I think in the base game, you could totally just tell the truth the whole time and probably be just fine, but I really like that incentive to lying that comes in the expansion for this. So this is a great one. I really like Sheriff of Nottingham, and I really love the way the negotiation works here. So it's my number 6, Sheriff of Nottingham. My number 5 is going to go to the game Ice Cool. Ice Cool is a flicking game where you're going to be flicking these penguins around trying to collect a bunch of fish before you get caught by a hall monitor. You're skipping class, so you got to get all this and get out before you get reported to the principal's office. Now the game itself is very straightforward. You're flicking your cards, you're moving around, and I love how that the pieces are weighted on the bottoms so they can curve and move and do all sorts of fun things. Now my favorite part about this game is that anybody can play and be good at this game, and it's kind of a crazy feat, and when you can see somebody pull off some amazing tricks after only playing it for like 5 minutes or so. I really like how it kind of levels the playing field, and maybe somebody's not looking at angles specifically, but more so going for cool trick shots or cool plays. It's just so neat to see people do cool things with this game, and it's great to spectate as well as to play. So this is a great little game with lots of fun things, and I love playing with the sequel, Ice Cool 2, because you can combine both boxes into one giant board. We've been having a lot of fun with that. You can also play with 8 players instead of 4. Fantastic times. So this is a great game. Ice Cool or Ice Cool 2, my number 5. My number 4 is going to go to the game Coloretto, and Coloretto is a game of set collection. All you're doing is trying to draft these colored chameleons, and the way you're doing this is by stacking them into different piles. Each pile can hold 3 chameleons, but you got to make sure that when you take that pile, they're going to have the chameleons you want. You'll score positive points for your 3 biggest sets, but then negatives for all of your other sets. You got to be careful when you're taking these boats, and I really like this system here. I love how simple it is. You're drawing a card and putting it down, or you're taking a pile and then you're out for the round. It's so straightforward. But my favorite thing about this game has to be the different modes for 2 and 3 players. Not only are you going to be removing specific chameleons based on the player count, but you're also switching the pile cards when it comes to the lower player count games. And I think that's really awesome. It changes the amounts of cards that can be in each, so there's a bit more dynamicness to passing and taking and where you're actually placing your chameleons. And then with higher player counts, the risk is there because you don't know exactly what boats are going to get back to you when it gets back to your turn, so drawing cards becomes even riskier. I really like this simple system, and I love how tense these decisions are in that simple game time. And I also really like how straightforward the game is, but how thoughtful the decisions are. So this is a great one, fantastic filler game, great set collection with some fun decisions. That's Coloretto, my number 4. My number 3 is going to go to the game Space Base. Now in Space Base, you play as a commander of a giant fleet of ships, and it's your job to recruit new ships and send your old ones out into space in order to gather you all sorts of resources, as well as, most importantly, victory points. So Space Base uses the Machi Koro style of dice rolling. You'll roll all the dice, and everybody around the table is going to gain resources based on the cards that they've collected. But here's the twist. When it's your turn, you activate all these blue cards in front of you. When it's others, you activate all these red cards. Now, how do you get these red cards? Well, when it's your turn, you'll be able to buy new ones, and when you do so, based on the number, you'll replace that card's sector, and you'll actually flip it around and slide it on the top. This is a really cool system right off the bat because you can really focus on one number because you're able to kind of stack them high, or you can go wide so that you're hitting more numbers on other players' turns. I really like this choice here. Now, my favorite part about this game is actually how the dice are used. It's a very simple mechanism, but I think it works really well. When somebody rolls the 2 dice, they're going to pick whether to use those dice together, like this person rolled 2 6s, you could use it as a 12, or you can separate them and use them as their own separate numbers, so a 6 and a 6. So you're going to choose every time that happens, and you do that on everybody's turn, and I love that. It means that you can put some really high value things on your low numbers and activate them a lot, or you could really try to do those double numbers and do something a little bit more risky, but you're only activating it maybe once every other turn, and I think that's so cool. I think it works extremely well. I think that this is an easy one for people to get into and have fun with, and I think it's one that people are going to come back to quite a bit. This is one of my wife's favorite games. We play this quite a bit, and this is one that is always a big hit when we play it with family. So I really like this one. That's Space Base number 3. Now, number 2 is probably one of the newest ones that has entered the library, but it's been such a hit. It's gone down so well. Absolutely fantastic game, and I knew that the core was good. This is Las Vegas Royale. Now, Las Vegas is a classic game of dice rolling, and you'll be placing these dice into different casino. At the end of the round, whoever has the most dice in each casino receives some of the money. But here's the twist. Whoever's tied in those casinos, their dice are removed. So it's easy to sneak in and potentially win little bits of money based on the casinos you go to. Now, in addition to all of these mechanics, Las Vegas Royale adds 2 big things to the game. The first thing they add are these chips, and the chips are very straightforward. Normally, when you roll in Las Vegas Royale, you're going to be putting your dice, and you just have to pick one of those numbers. With the pass chips, you can spend it. They're worth pointed for you at the end of the game, but if you spend it, you pass your turn. So you could get a roll you're not really a fan of and have a way to pass. And there's ways that you can collect more of these during the game. Really like this mechanic. Very sound. The next big thing that Las Vegas Royale adds are these extra casino games. So on these bottom 3 casinos, you're going to have less money in them, just like normal, but they are instead given these special casino games. And the way they work is you still bet for the money like normal, but you get a bonus effect. And these are just so interesting, so fun, and they change up the game in a very positive but very fun way, and I love this. So for example, you might have an ability to gain extra money, you might have some control as to where the other characters can actually put their dice. It is so interesting how thinky this makes the game, but it doesn't bog down the gameplay or at all. It's an easy way to integrate it, and it's integrated so well because you play the base game and then you simply add these after one play of the initial game, and it completely changes the experience and makes it just that much more enticing. This is a fantastic game, fantastic product, and my favorite thing has to be these additional casino pieces. I think they are so well implemented and just so much fun. They're going to make me want to play this game so much more frequently. Fantastic game. Love it. That's Las Vegas Royale, my number 2. Now, my number 1 has to go to the game Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a fantastic family game of push your luck bag building, where you're going to be a bunch of doctors filling your cauldrons with ingredients. And you're going to be doing this through a bag building system. Every round, you're going to be pulling these chips out of your bag, putting them into your pot, and doing your best to get as far as you can without busting. You bust when you have more of these white chips than 7. If that happens, you're going to explode, but have no fear, there's a catch-up mechanism that'll keep you in the game. Now, that being said, you're going to use how far you got as purchase power to be able to buy new chips for your bag, and these chips all have an array of abilities, and that's my favorite part of this game. I love how each of the chips here has a book that goes with it, and there are so many books for each chip that every game is going to be drastically different because of the combinations of these different tiles. I really like this system, and I love how it evolves. I love how it's easy to teach this game straight up the bat, but people get engaged with their own decision making. They're able to look at these abilities and evaluate them and really get into the theme and the system. They're able to create their own path, evaluate, and just have a blast pushing their luck and seeing how it goes. It definitely is an extremely swingy game. You're going to have huge bouts of luck and huge bouts of misfortune as well, and you're really just going to have to roll those because, man, this game has so many highs but almost the same amount of lows. But it's such a great experience. It's always fun, even if you're losing, to just be able to build your bag and see how far you can go. Great experience, great time, and great fun for the whole family. That is the Quacks of Quedlinburg, my number 1. And that's the list. Those are the top 10 board games that I would bring to the family's house. What do you think of the list? Are any of these games you bring to your family's house? Anything I should put on my list because I should be taking these to my family's house? I'd love to hear your opinions, and I'd love to hear what games that you just love sharing with your loved ones. But thanks for watching SideGame Strong.